Away from the courts, global rights group Amnesty International has called for the abolition of the death penalty in Nigeria. The country director, Mr. Mohammed Ibrahim, says the issue is a constitutional matter which calls for the consent of all Nigerians, irrespective of religious or economic status. Another group, the Nigerian Death Penalty Group, has also been speaking about the need for President Muhammadu Buhari to revisit the issue of the death penalty with a view to abolishing it or introducing a moratorium. We have details in this report.
I'm totally against the abolition of the death penalty. I mean, why kill and expect that at the end of the day, after the so-called fair trial, you'll be set free? I mean, what happens to the family of the person you've killed?
The death penalty has not deterred people from doing what they are doing, especially if it's an act of terrorism. Now see that even they even love dying.
Most times people don't put into consideration how our criminal justice system works, how poverty and inequalities in society also affects the application of death penalty. Because if you go to most prisons, most of the people on death row interestingly are poor people. And then you ask yourself the question, how come we don't have rich people on death row? Is it that rich people don't kill people?
These are just some of the arguments for and against the death penalty in Nigeria. The participants here are representatives of civil society, journalists and lawyers, and they are here at the instance of the Nigerian Death Penalty Group. The group is a loose network of NGOs and individuals in Nigeria working towards the abolition of the use of death penalty. Their purpose is to articulate the focus and commitment of the group towards the actions that would promote moving Nigeria towards the abolition or full moratorium on the use of the death penalty. Available statistics from the Legal Defense and Assistance Project, LEADUP, a non-profit membership organization engaged in the legal promotion and protection of human rights, good governance and the rule of law in Nigeria, shows that 96 countries have abolished the use of the death penalty, while 59 countries, including Nigeria, still use the penalty. 49 countries permit the death penalty, but have not used it for at least 10 years. In Africa, many large democratic states, including Senegal, Ghana, South Africa, Gabon, and Togo, have abolished the death penalty. In Nigeria, LEADUP says a survey conducted in 2010 in the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, shows that almost half of Nigerians support the death penalty. Specifically, 51% of those interviewed say they oppose the death penalty, 42% supported it, and 7% were undecided. The report also says young people were more likely to oppose the death penalty. The main offenses for which people are convicted and sentenced to death are murder and armed robbery, aiding the suicide of a child or lunatic, fabricating false evidence leading to the death of an innocent person, instigating an invasion of Nigeria, treason, conspiracy to treason, and kidnapping in about 6 states in the southeast also carry the death penalty. About 12 states in the north, which practice Sharia/Islamic penal law, also use the death penalty for incest, homosexual, sodomy, rape, and adultery.
Now, I must add here that what is omitted here is the death penalty under the Army Act. Mutiny is now carried the death sentence. Cowardice, So these are military offenses that now styles on the face. You can see that we have huge number of offenses that carry the death penalty. It's not just murder, because whenever you talk about death sentence, people's mind goes to murder. But majority of the cases, people who are convicted for death and sentenced to death are actually for armed robbery, not really murder. Another point has been made about the extrajudicial killing. We publish a report here called Impunity Report, where we document every day extrajudicial executions. And my experience with prisons and also working in this area for a long time is that please don't really charge armed robbers to court. I mean, if a policeman sees you with an armed robber, you're an armed robber, you carry a gun, he sees you killing, do you think he'll take you to court? No, he's taking you to his own court. And his own court is by the waterside. He kills you there and dumps you. So they charge to court those who are not really sure, they're on borderline. Either they are receiving or they're in possession of firearms. But the real criminals are killed.
Our police, the Nigerian police, does not have the capacity to thoroughly investigate murders or offenses that carry capital sentences. Thank God Clean is here. I don't know any other civil society organization that works closely with the police. Our Nigerian police just don't have the capacity to do all of these things. It requires a lot of experienced personnel, equipment, so many other things which they don't have. Now, how can you expect such a force that is ill-equipped, ill-motivated, no experienced personnel, no equipment, to now come up with conclusive investigations that the judiciary cannot rely on to say this person is guilty or not?
The roundtable also discussed the state of the death penalty, with particular focus on the challenges facing its use in Nigeria, including the challenges of fair trials, the reluctance of governments to sign death warrants, and the possibility of sentencing and executing innocent people.
The Obasanjo government set up a national study group on the death penalty, which was headed by Professor Bamgoshe of Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies, and Wale Fawunda was the secretary of that committee. They went around the whole country talking about the issue of death penalty. And they came to a conclusion that most Nigerians, are worried that the justice system is not perfect, that it may result in executing innocent people, and that every system that cannot give justice should not take life. And that's the conclusion of that report. It's a federal government report. It's on basis of that report that Obasanjo government introduced a moratorium on executions. That's a moratorium means that even though we are sentencing people to death, we're not going to kill. And that's what has been happening until Oshimole broke that moratorium in 2013.
Over years now, there have been hues and cries for the abolition of death sentences in Nigeria, especially for human rights communities. The government's rented, even as it reiterated before the United Nations in 2009, during the Universal Periodic Review of Nigeria's State of Human Rights, that Nigeria has self-imposed moratorium, as Mr. Chino has also pointed out. Civil society organizations have urged the government to officially declare a moratorium on the imposition of death sentences and suspension of provisions of laws to the effect. We therefore call on the government of Nigeria to implement recommendation of the study group on the abolition of the death penalty in line with the second optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights